Now let's turn our attention to West Africa. A different war has been playing out here. A terrorist insurgency, especially in the Sahel region. It is just south of the Sahara Desert. Terror groups have been active here in Sahel for years now. And now they're looking to expand their operations. They have set new targets. They're eyeing the coastal nations below the Sahel. These are relatively peaceful countries. How do they plan to defend themselves? Europe has offered to help with more weapons. Europe wants to arm the coastal nations in West Africa, and this weekend the EU took a step in that direction.
Today, we come together to officially unveil a generous donation of 105 militarized vehicles provided by the European Union to support the counter-terrorism efforts of the Ghana Armed Forces.
The focus is on Ghana. The European Union has sent 105 armored vehicles. Now, Ghana is a nation in West Africa. It's a country of about 34 million people. It is also one of the richer nations in terms of GDP. Its nominal GDP is $76 billion. It ranks 11th in the continent of 54 countries. Ghana is also rich in resources. It is one of Africa's largest gold producers. Other major exports are cocoa and crude oil. So in theory, Ghana is better off than most nations in West Africa. In fact, most of the countries along the Gulf of Guinea are resource rich, which may be why Europe wants to ensure that they remain stable. The armored vehicles to Ghana are part of a broader outreach, a broader military aid outreach. It's going to 4 countries in the Gulf of Guinea: Ghana, Ivory Coast, Togo, and Benin. They will all get military aid from the European Union, about $650 million in all.
I think that we are all aware that the spillover of insecurity from the Sahel to the Gulf of Guinea is not a risk, it's a reality. It's like climate change. It's not something that may happen in 20 years from now. It's happening now.
That was the EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell. He says the spillover of terror from the Sahel is already underway, and that is why Ghana is preparing itself for the fight. But the country may be ill-equipped to keep extremism out for 2 reasons: its geography and its economy. Let's tell you about the geography first. Ghana is close to the terror hotspots in West Africa, the Sahel states. They touch Ghana's northern border. It is at the edge of the insurgency, and that's one reason why the country is on alert. The second reason is Ghana's precarious economic situation. We mentioned earlier how the country is resource rich, but that has not translated to a wealthy population. In fact, Ghana's people have been struggling of late. Last year, they suffered an economic crisis. There was high inflation and mounting public debt. Ghana's debt is about 90% of its GDP. It got so bad that Ghana defaulted on loans to foreign lenders. This was last December. They defaulted. The country had to take a $3 billion bailout from the IMF. Its 17th IMF loan since it became independent. So you can see why the economy is in dire straits. Since Ghana has to keep paying back foreign loans, domestic payments take a backseat. This leads to unpaid salaries and crumbling infrastructure. Last week, the country was plunged into darkness. Electricity was cut across Ghana. And remember, this is an oil and gas-rich country. Theoretically, it should not have any power problems, but it does. And they're expected to get worse in the years to come. This kind of economic crisis breeds instability, and terror groups use that instability to recruit people. The crisis in Ghana could be a gateway for the terrorists, which is why the EU is focusing on this country. The armored cars were just the military outreach. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will visit Ghana tomorrow. It's the second part of his West Africa tour. The first part included Nigeria. Olaf Scholz went to Nigeria. He promised investments in the gas sector. He's trying to boost trade in the region. Both these strategies will help Ghana as well. But will this be enough to steady the country's economy? Will the armored vehicles be enough to prevent an insurgency? Guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll keep you posted.